Hey everyone, it's a beautiful day in the garden and I thought it would be a great day to do an end of April garden tour. The garden is coming alive and it's a great way to take a snapshot and compare to all upcoming months in the season. Here are 2 beds of strawberries. These are 3-year-old June-bearing strawberries and they're loaded with flowers, so I should get a lot of strawberries in this particular bed here. I also have some sage interplanted. It's a great companion plant. And if you are growing sage, this is the time to cut it back above any new growth and then it'll be bushier. And also some lavender in here as well. This should be cut back. It does grow from the base. So this is the time to cut both of these back to promote new growth. In this bed, these are 1-year-old strawberries. They were runners off of the other bed that I rooted last season and they already have flowers on them. So I should get some strawberries in this bed as well, and this will eventually fill in nicely. I transplanted some of my chives in here, and these are some parsley plants that I started from seed indoors, and some overwintered green onions, and then I interplanted some lettuce here as well. These are all really good companions for each other. Back here, I have my raised beds, and in these taller raised beds, I'm growing the cool season vegetables that I direct sowed. Here I have radishes and they're just starting to push through the soil and swell up. So I should be able to harvest these over the next week. We had some temperatures in the low 20s and then a spike into the 90s, and that affected their growth for a couple of weeks. Here I have carrots interplanted with onions. And just make sure if you are growing carrots, you're thinning them regularly so that they have enough space to grow. You want to make sure they have about 3 inches in between each carrot. Here I have peas growing up the trellis, and they're looking really great actually. Again, slow start because of the weather, and then I planted some beets in here and they're coming up as well. And then I have some baby bok choy that I planted in this area here, and they're also growing really nicely. And because I'm growing the brassicas here, kale, bok choy, radishes, the netting is just keeping the cabbage moths out. And there's some kale growing along the wall there. It's filling out really nicely. Here I have a row of lettuce. There's romaine and some different like salad mixes, more radishes. Then I have some purple bok choy. It's a larger variety than the one I have in the other bed, and then more peas along the trellis. In this bed, I have some oregano. Now, this is oregano I started from seed over 10 years ago, probably closer to 12 years. It started as a very small plant and it's a vigorous grower. So it's been divided many times over the years and moved to different areas of the garden. And it is also the favorite nesting spot for the rabbits in my yard. They dig out the oregano and lay their babies here. And every year I find either a nest or I find babies under the oregano. These are chives I planted all around the border. These are also probably around 10 years old and they've been divided many times over the years, and chives actually should be divided every like 2 to 3 years. In the fall, I planted garlic here. This is hardneck garlic and about 50 bulbs came up. I am fertilizing them every 2 weeks with a liquid fish and seaweed fertilizer. And then right here next to the hardneck, I planted softneck garlic, and this whole area was planted with softneck bulbs, but only a handful have come up, like maybe 10, and they look pitiful. So I'm thinking that what happened is we had such an extreme winter, freezing temperatures for months and tons of snow, and the softneck garlic just couldn't handle those temperatures. So next year I'll probably stick with the hardneck garlic. So here in the back garden, I have a couple of bags of potatoes that I planted, but we've had rain like every day for the past week. And so I'm just hoping they don't rot, but they're in full sun, so they should be drying out. And then along the trellis here, I plan on planting some vining zucchini. And then I also have some small pumpkins. I think they're called sugar baby, and then also some small cantaloupe. This is the first year I'm trying these. So I'm not sure how they're going to do. And I also want to make sure that I have enough space on this trellis for everything. So I'm still thinking through how I'm going to lay it out and space it. But I have a lot of space in this back area. So even if I don't put them on the trellis, I can maybe dig out another area in the back here to plant. This is a fruit tree that I got last year. It's actually called the fruit cocktail tree, and it's got 5 different varieties of fruit on it: plum, nectarine, peach, and apricot. It's 2 varieties of peaches, actually. And there is already fruit on it. This is still young and small, so I'm not sure how well it will support the fruit, but that's apricot. It's actually loaded with apricots on this one stem. And then I also have some nectarines over here on one of these other stems. So I'm not really sure how well it will support the fruit, but I'm really excited that I actually put fruit on, which is great news. At the base of the tree, I planted nasturtium. Nasturtium is actually a great garden companion for many things, especially fruit trees. It acts as a trap crop, so it'll attract any of the bugs that are attracted to the fruit tree to it. So it's something that you want to plant around the garden. It's just great at attracting those bad bugs to it as opposed to everything else that you're growing. And then I have some space here in the front of the garden, and then again here in front of the trellis where I'll be planting flowers to attract pollinators. I actually planted poppies in this spot earlier in spring, but this cutie pie trampled all over them chasing squirrels. And then in this area here, I'm going to dig out for some corn. And the cardboard is just there to suppress weeds, but it does need to be amended and dug out a bit. I have some snap peas here on a trellis, and they're filling in nicely. And then back here I have all of my grow bags. I always plant tomatoes and zucchini in the bags, and I plant peppers, cucumbers, and eggplant in the raised beds, but this year I'm going to plant those in bags as well, because I did a soil test at the end of last season and my soil was slightly alkaline. And these particular vegetables don't like when the soil is alkaline. They like a more neutral pH in the soil, which is the reason why it's important to do soil testing. So I'm giving those beds a rest. I'm working on adjusting the pH, and what I decide to plant in those beds will be able to handle slightly alkaline soil. I also just did a video on how to amend the soil or revitalize the soil in your grow bags so that it's appropriate for growing these vegetables and ensuring that the soil is loose and well draining. So I'll link that video here for you. Here I have some potted mint. If you are growing mint or you're considering growing mint, I highly recommend growing it in pots because it is very invasive. So wherever you plant it, it will just completely take over. I'm also starting to harden off all of my seedlings. So these are tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, basically everything I was growing indoors. I'm starting to bring them out. I'm at least 2 weeks out before I get these planted because the nighttime temperatures need to be consistently about 55 degrees for the tomato, zucchini, and cucumbers. But it should be more like 60 degrees for your peppers and eggplant. No grow light can replicate the intensity of the sun. So if you're getting like bright, warm days, even if you're several weeks out before you plant out, it's a good idea to just bring out those plants and let them get some of that sunlight, fresh air, a little gentle breeze. Just be mindful of keeping them directly in the sun too long, move them in and out of shade, and just, keep an eye on them to make sure they're not getting stressed out. Here I have some dahlias that are being hardened off, and then I have some tomatillos. I also adding to my perennial herbs. I have rosemary and thyme. Here are 2 of my 3 overwintered peppers. These are jalapenos, and this one here is massive. It started to put on growth about 6 weeks after I brought it indoors, and this one only started putting on growth in early March, so about 7 weeks ago, but it's already catching up to the bigger plant. Here I have several types of cucumbers and zucchini. I also have the pumpkin and the cantaloupe. Here I have geranium I started from seed. Normally I just buy the plants, but I wanted to try it out, and so far so good. More squash, and then I have some chamomile and lemon balm in this tray. And then I have some basil and marigold and then some other flowers in these back trays. So everything is coming along nicely, but there's still a lot of work to do. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please follow along, like and subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos and the progress in the garden.